You are watching Pausing with Erik. We pause for a second or two. How do we keep life coherent when so much is changing? This is episode 277, Prediction Markets. For today's episode, we will start with the wood cube. Letters. Letters is a confused skill. Not that the skill is confused, but it is a skill for our confused situation, for when we are confused. So our confused situation is when we feel disoriented, scrambled, or like we are missing something. That's our confused situation. And letters is a skill for when we feel confused. This is the image for confused skill letters. Some letters. Pretty straightforward. We pause and play with voices and intentions, yet only for ourselves to see. Letters is how we clarify who is saying what. So this skill is addressing a specific kind of confusion that we often find ourselves having in life. We often mistake what one person is saying with the intention of another person. We often mix up these two like this. What is being said and what is being intended. Sometimes what a person says and intends are the same. Sometimes they line up. And in those cases, we do not get confused by it. But at other times, we confuse these two. And they go sort of opposite each other. We might mistake another's intention to be our intention, and then say something that is in line with the intention of the other instead of ourselves. And at other times, the opposite is true. That someone else says something we intend, but they say it because they want to be in line with us. And it would seem that this specific kind of confusion is necessary for social cohesion. Oftentimes we agree with one another and mistake our different intentions because it adds to the social cohesion between us. And confused skill letters is addressing that social phenomenon. So it's not about straightening out all voices or all intentions. It's about us, ourselves, as individuals, sort of making more clear to ourselves what is being said and who is intending for that to be said. So we play with voices and intentions. And in doing so, we clarify who is saying what. That is confused skill letters. In today's episode, we are talking about a new phenomenon. And we will use confused skill letters to as individuals approach this new thing with hopefully less confusion, less personal confusion in the face of this new thing. And this new thing is called prediction markets. So these prediction markets are, as of now, mostly being rolled out or being produced in America, in the United States. But people from all over the globe may participate in these prediction markets. So the markets in themselves are open to all people, but they are sort of more in legislation and in infrastructure, as of now, more built for Americans and an American market. So what are these prediction markets? So they are websites or apps. And if we enter these websites, these prediction markets, there is sort of these different bets we can make. We can bet on all different kinds of things. And traditionally, betting has been more or less exclusive to a numbers game, just betting on numbers, or betting on sports. That's how we have known betting to function. Numbers, gambling, and sports. These prediction markets, however, are widening the scope of what may be betted on. So the most common things being betted on as of now on these prediction markets are still sports. As I've understood it, that's still number one, what people are betting on, or what money is betted on, we should say. And then second is politics, betting on politics. And other areas of life being betted on these prediction markets are economy and popular culture, celebrities and the like. So these prediction markets are a very new phenomenon. So it can be quite difficult to sort of make up our mind about these prediction markets now initially. But what can be said with certainty is that these prediction markets are including many different areas of life where we usually do not bet money. And now these sort of areas of life are being decoupled in a way with money. That we are betting money on things we usually do not bet money on. So we may here talk about the distinction between civic matters, matters concerning us as citizens, as civilians, and matters of money. The civic sphere and the money sphere, financial sphere. And now the money sphere is sort of including itself in more civic matters than we have ever seen before. That's basically the idea behind prediction markets, to include money in different civic matters. Politics is one such matter. Pop culture, the personal lives of celebrities and the like, is another such civic sphere. And we are making use of letters here. Who is saying what is what we are clarifying. So one important thing, I think, to keep in mind when approaching these prediction markets as individuals is that when we go to this website and we see this specific bet, will this happen by 2026? It might say yes or no. And then we can bet on either yes or no. And if we are right, so to speak, we win money. And if we are wrong, we lose the money we have bet. Who is saying what? It would seem that there are many levels here where we might be confused about who is actually saying what. The first level might be who is actually posing this bet, who is actually sort of formulating, sort of stating this particular bet. Might be quite confusing to know who is actually responsible for producing this particular yes-no scenario to bet money on. That's the first thing to be confused about. A second thing might be that sort of the percentages being presented in real time on yes and no respectively. Let's say that this bet, this particular fictitious bet, has 90% yes and 10% no. Then it might look like 90% of people say yes and only 10% of people say no. But that's not what it is. It is that 90% of money betted is saying yes, but only 10% of money is saying no. So it could be that one person has betted 90% of the money, but many people, thousands of people, have betted the remaining 10% on no. So it's very difficult for us to determine who is actually saying what here with these bets, because it's not counting votes per person, it's counting money. And you can bet how much or how little you want. That's the second thing to be confused about. And then a third thing to be confused about might be, okay, let's say that the bet is not that easy to determine the outcome. Sometimes things are betted on that are not, hard yes or no kind of scenarios. Sometimes the outcome is due to interpretation. And in those cases, each sort of prediction market has their own system of how they determine, like judges, like say in the boxing matches of old, or as of modern as well. If the two boxers are still standing at the end of the match, then the judges determine who was the winner on points. And these prediction markets, to my understanding, are working in quite a similar way oftentimes. That if the outcome is not that easy to determine, then they have these sort of moderators or judges or point system or token system saying what actually was the right decision. Was it yes or no? So that's a third sort of area of confusion with these prediction markets. So a lot of confusion potentially as we are approaching these sort of new kinds of markets. And perhaps the sort of underlying confusion under all of this is that we still do not know how our sort of social culture will be affected by that people are betting money on more and more civic matters. How does it affect us to bet money on politics? That politics is not just politics, it's also a matter of winning or losing money. How is our social climate affected by us betting on people's personal lives? People getting married, divorced, people passing away, betting on mortality. So if these prediction markets become widespread enough and reach some sort of critical mass in how widely adopted they are by people, then we might see some kind of culture shift, some kind of betting culture shift, where we are associating more and more civic matters with money. Perhaps shifting focus from the civic matter in itself to the money being won or lost. So less focus on civic matters and more focus on the money. Arguably. So we use confused skill letters. We play around with this for our own sense of structure. We pause for a second or two. What is this new phenomenon? Is it good? Is it bad? How do we feel about it individually? We pause with prediction markets for a second or two. That's it for today. Thank you.